Have you ever felt just this incredible, undeniable surge of motivation? You know the exact feeling I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. It usually hits right around, what, 11 o'clock at night?
Exactly. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly, bam, a switch flips.
Right. You decide that tomorrow, everything changes.
Yep. You are going to start that business, or, I don't know, finally learn a new language, or you're going to get incredibly fit. You can practically see this upgraded version of yourself.
And the drive just feels so massive, like it's permanent.
So permanent.
Yeah.
But then, like 2 days later, that unstoppable energy has it's completely evaporated.
It's wild how fast it goes.
It is. You're back on the couch. The running shoes are shoved into the dark corners of the closet. The language app is sending you those sad little notifications. And you're just left wondering where all that magical momentum went.
It is such a universally frustrating cycle. You know, we experience this intense flash of inspiration, and it's followed almost immediately by absolute inertia. And that sudden drop-off leaves most people feeling incredibly disappointed in themselves. Like they're convinced they have some fundamental biological flaw in their willpower.
We totally internalize it as a personal failure. We think, what's wrong with me?
Exactly.
Well, today we are taking a deep dive into a document that tackles this exact cycle. It's a really concise but remarkably dense piece of source text titled How to Stay Motivated Every Day.
It's a great read. On the surface, it maps out the mechanics of daily drive through these actionable steps. But if you read between the lines, it really offers a fundamental redesign of how we approach our goals.
It forces a massive shift away from relying on sheer willpower or, those cheerful platitudes.
Right. No more just believing yourself posters.
Our mission today is to move way beyond the old cliche of shouting, just do it, at yourself in the mirror. We really want to unpack these principles as a complete, interconnected system for sustainable goal getting.
Because it's really about engineering your environment, your biology, and your mindset. Right. So you don't have to rely on that totally unpredictable lightning bolt of late night inspiration.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the source text's actual definition of what motivation is, because I think a lot of us have this totally backward from day one.
Oh, we really do.
Yeah.
The text defines motivation very specifically. It says, motivation is the feeling that gives you energy and desire to do something. It is the reason why you start working toward a goal.
The reason you start.
Yes. The critical word in that entire definition is start.
It's the reason you start, not the engine that carries you to the finish line. And I think that is the trap we all fall into, right?
Oh, 100%.
We expect motivation to be this permanent humming engine in the background of our lives. When I look at this definition, I realize motivation is really just like a match.
A match. I like that.
Yeah, think about it. You strike a match, it burns incredibly bright, it provides a little heat, and it gets the fire going. But a match is literally designed to burn out fast.
Right, it's temporary by nature.
It is physically impossible for a single match to heat a house through the winter. If you want a fire that lasts, you need the heavy, boring firewood that actually sustains the heat.
What's fascinating here is how the text directly addresses that transition.
Yeah.
Going from the match to the firewood. It explicitly states that motivation comes and goes, but habits stay.
Habits stay.
Exactly. The document is essentially giving you permission to stop expecting yourself to be fired up 24 hours a day. It acknowledges that human emotion is volatile.
The match is going to burn out.
It has to. And relieving yourself of that immense pressure to feel constantly inspired is really the necessary first step to actually getting anything done.
It takes all the moral weight off the feeling. You don't have to feel like a superhero every morning. You just have to follow the routine you set up when you were feeling like a superhero.
That's a great way to put it. The routine is the firewood.
But the text pairs this structural advice with this really deep emotional anchor. It insists that before you build that routine, you must establish your core reason, your why.
Right, the first tip, remember your why.
Because that reason gives you strength when the routine itself becomes unbearable.
Yeah, if the routine is the firewood that keeps things burning on a normal Tuesday, your why is the emergency generator for the days when a massive storm hits.
Oh, I love that, the emergency generator.
Because eventually, the routine is going to feel completely unmanageable. Decision fatigue sets in, or you're just exhausted from the friction of everyday life. You have to have an anchor then.
The underlying purpose has to be crystal clear.
Absolutely. Without a profound why, a routine is just this meaningless set of chores.
Yeah.
And your brain will eventually rebel against that.
Right. It's the difference between I want to learn Spanish and I want to learn Spanish so I can speak with my aging grandparents in their native tongue. Or I want to get fit versus I want to get fit so I can carry my kids up the stairs without losing my breath. It's a deep, visceral well you draw from when the daily habit feels impossibly heavy.
Which brings us to the actual execution phase of the text system. Because even with a profound emotional anchor in our rock-solid daily schedule, the day-to-day reality of working toward a massive goal can still feel like a crushing grind.
It really can, but the text provides a formula to prevent that routine from crushing you. It focuses heavily on engineering momentum.
Right, it advocates for breaking your massive goal down into small, hyper-manageable steps. Tip 2.
Yeah, and deliberately celebrating those tiny victories to build confidence. Plus, it demands that you focus on messy progress rather than perfection. But I have to be honest here. Yeah, I want to push back on this particular approach just a little bit.
Okay, let's hear the hesitation. What's the issue?
I hear the logic, but if my ultimate goal is to build a life-changing $1 million business, popping a bottle of champagne because I successfully registered a web domain or answered 3 emails feels a bit like toxic positivity.
I see why you'd say that.
It just feels like I'm tricking myself. Shouldn't I keep my focus entirely on the massive prize to stay hungry? So what does this all mean? How does lowering our gaze to these mundane administrative tasks actually yield tangible results?
It is a totally fair challenge. It sounds counterintuitive, but the strategy is deeply rooted in the mechanics of human neurobiology, which this source text subtly leverages.
Neurobiology.
Yeah. When the text notes that small victories build confidence and that confidence creates motivation, it is actually describing the brain's dopamine reward pathway.
Oh, wow. So we're talking about a literal chemical feedback loop.
Highly effective one. Think about it. When you only fixate on the ultimate goal, the complete fluency in a new language, or that massive business empire, the gap between your current reality and that future state is overwhelmingly large.
It's massive.
And the human brain doesn't look at that giant gap and feel inspired. It perceives an insurmountable threat.
Really? A threat?
Yes. It creates anxiety, paralysis, and this profound sense of inadequacy.
So you look at the sheer scale of the endeavor and your brain just shuts down the operation before you even begin.
Precisely. But by breaking the massive goal down into a minuscule step like registering that web domain, you lower the barrier to entry.
Okay, that makes sense.
And when you achieve that tiny step, your brain doesn't judge the size of the win. It simply registers success and releases a small hit of dopamine.
And that chemical release is what feels like confidence.
Exactly. And as the dopamine hits, it chemically lowers your resistance to taking the next step. You are actively manufacturing your own motivation.
By proving to your nervous system in these tiny increments that moving forward is actually safe and rewarding.
Spot on.
So you're literally hacking your own brain chemistry to keep the fire going. The small win acts like a brand new match, striking a fresh spark to ignite the next log of firewood.
That is exactly it. And that mechanism is why the text's instruction to focus on progress rather than perfection is so incredibly vital.
Tip number 4.
Yes. Demanding perfection from yourself instantly short-circuits that entire dopamine feedback loop.
Because perfection is an impossible standard, meaning there are never any actual wins to celebrate.
Exactly. Right. If you demand perfection, every small step is subjected to this harsh, punishing judgment.
You register the web domain, but then you agonize over the exact wording of the URL for 3 weeks because it isn't flawless.
Right. Or you practice speaking the new language, but you stumble on a basic verb conjugation, so you label the entire 30-minute conversation a humiliating failure.
Which kills the dopamine.
It destroys it. Perfectionism guarantees a state of constant perceived failure. It destroys the celebration, which prevents the dopamine release, which starves the motivation.
Focusing on messy, imperfect progress is literally the only way to keep the chemical momentum engine running.
It really is.
It's a huge relief to reframe it that way. Just let yourself off the hook for being flawless so you can actually get the biological reward for doing the work.
Yeah, you have to allow yourself to feel the win.
But of course, even if you have this great internal engine humming along perfectly, you have your core reason, your daily habit, your dopamine loop of small wins, you do not exist in a vacuum.
No, we certainly do not. The text transitions from all this internal mindset work to our external defenses.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting to me. The text lists taking care of your physical health, specifically sleeping well, eating healthy food, drinking water, and staying active as core pillars of motivation.
Tip 7.
Yeah. It's funny how we treat motivation as this ethereal, purely psychological trait, and we completely forget our baseline biology. We try to out-willpower a bad night of sleep, which is neurologically impossible.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text is really teaching us the art of boundary setting.
Boundary setting, how so?
Well, motivation requires cognitive energy, and that energy is housed within a biological vessel, your body. You can have the most dialed-in routine in the world, but you cannot maintain mental momentum in a depleted physical state.
Because your brain prioritizes keeping you alive over helping you achieve self-actualization.
Exactly. Try feeling inspired to study complex coding languages when you are severely dehydrated and operating on 3 hours of sleep.
It's not going to happen.
Your biology simply will not allow it. The prefrontal cortex, which handles all that long-term goal planning, it just powers down. And the primitive parts of your brain take over to conserve energy.
Wow.
So treating your physical health with respect is literally building the biological infrastructure that makes the psychological state of motivation even possible.
It's the ultimate blind spot. We beat ourselves up for lacking drive when we really just need a glass of water and 8 hours of sleep.
Often that's exactly what it is.
And then the text applies the same concept of energy protection to our social environment. It highlights the absolute necessity of spending time with people who encourage and inspire you.
Tip 5. Because negativity is a massive cognitive drain.
Oh, for sure.
If you are constantly defending your goals or your timeline or your ambitions to cynical or unsupportive people, you are burning the precious energy you should be applying to your daily routine.
You are leaking fuel.
You're leaking fuel everywhere. Curating your social circle to include supportive people creates a protective container for your momentum.
And then the source also warns against this incredibly toxic internal drain, comparing yourself to others. Tip 8. It instructs you to focus strictly on your own growth and progress.
Which is so hard today.
It is. In an era where everyone's heavily edited highlight reel is broadcast constantly on social media, this feels like the hardest defense to maintain.
Social comparison is perhaps the most insidious saboteur of the entire system we've discussed. In psychology, there is a concept known as relative deprivation.
Relative deprivation. Okay, what's that?
It's when you compare your messy, imperfect Chapter 1 to someone else's highly polished Chapter 20. When you do that, you instantly invalidate your own progress.
Right.
We just talked about how vital it is to celebrate small victories to trigger that dopamine release, right?
Like the chemical loop.
Well, comparison completely neutralizes that process.
Yeah.
You lose a pound, which is a huge biological win, but then you see someone online who lost 50 pounds.
And suddenly your very real victory is recontextualized as a failure.
Exactly. You rob yourself of the reward.
The moment you look sideways, you trip over your own feet and kill the momentum.
The text is equipping you with a shield here. It is telling you to ruthlessly protect your cognitive energy from toxic people, to protect it from the brutal, unfair comparisons you make against strangers, and to protect it by honoring your physical biology.
So we have mapped out this incredibly robust, ideal scenario. You've dug deep and anchored yourself to a core emotional why.
Yep.
You've shifted the cognitive load by building the heavy firewood of a daily routine.
The routine.
You are manufacturing motivation by breaking tasks down into tiny steps and letting the dopamine of imperfect progress push you forward.
Messy progress.
And you are fiercely protecting your energy vessel with good sleep, hydration, supportive friends, and staying completely in your own lane. It sounds like an unbreakable system.
It sounds perfect. But human life is entirely unpredictable. And even the best systems occasionally collapse.
They really do. The text anticipates that collapse, though, which brings us to the final and I think the most fascinating section of this whole deep dive.
Tip 9.
Yeah. What happens on those inevitable days when everything breaks down? The firewood is wet, you slept terribly, the people around you are driving you crazy, the comparison trap caught you, and you feel entirely drained of all desire to move forward. What then?
The source text offers this ultimate feel-safe directive. Keep going, even when you don't feel like it.
Just keep going.
Take action, even when motivation is exceptionally low. because action often creates motivation.
That concept completely flips the script on how we are taught to view productivity. We spend all our time trying to figure out how to summon motivation so that we can finally take action.
We treat motivation as the mandatory prerequisite.
Right.
This raises an important question about human behavior. We sit around waiting for a feeling to arrive before we allow ourselves to begin. We assume the natural sequence is: step 1, feel inspired. Step 2, do the work.
We wait around for the match to magically strike itself.
Yes. We say things like, I'll go for a run when I feel energized, or I'll sit down and write that chapter when I feel creative. But the profound truth embedded in this final instruction is that action is not the byproduct of motivation.
It's the generator of it.
Action is the generator.
To move away from the match analogy for a second, it makes me think of an old school cast iron water pump.
Oh, like the ones on old farms.
Yeah, you can't just stand there waiting for the water to flow out of the spout. It doesn't work that way. You have to grab the heavy handle and manually pump it up and down a dozen times. You have to expend your own raw physical energy first.
You have to force the action.
Exactly. Pumping the handle creates the vacuum that eventually pulls the water up from deep underground. The motivation does not flow until you force the initial action.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. It comes down to the basic physics of inertia applied to human psychology.
Inertia.
Yeah, when you're sitting still, waiting for inspiration to strike, the inertia holding you in place is massive. It takes a tremendous amount of mental force to overcome it.
It feels impossible to move.
But when you bypass the need for a feeling, and you simply take one tiny physical action, even if your motivation is absolute zero, you break the inertia.
You start pumping the handle.
You start pumping, you sit at the desk and open the document, you put on the running shoes and step outside the front door. You just open the language book.
And what happens in the brain?
As soon as you are in physical motion, your brain observes the action and processes a new reality. It recognizes, oh, we're currently doing this activity. And the psychological motivation then rushes in to catch up with the physical reality of the momentum you have already created.
Wow. It's an incredibly empowering realization. You are never truly at the mercy of your fluctuating emotions.
Never.
Even on your absolute worst day, when your motivation is non-existent and the entire system has failed, you still retain agency over your physical movements.
You always have a choice.
You can always choose to take one ridiculously small step, and that one reluctant step might be the exact motion needed to pull the water up from the well and reignite the whole system.
It acts as the ultimate safety net for goal achievement.
What a journey this brief document has taken us on today. It started with a deceptively simple premise: how to stay motivated and unspooled into this deeply strategic, biological, and psychological playbook for sustained human behavior.
It provides a comprehensive diagnostic tool, really, when you put all the pieces together.
It does. Let's recap how these pieces connect for anyone listening. We started by redefining the landscape, stripping away the expectation that motivation is a permanent state of being.
Right, taking the pressure off.
We recognized it as the initial spark, the match, and learned to rely on the sturdy firewood of our automatic daily routines, keeping our deep emotional anchor, our why, in our back pocket for the hardest days.
And from there, we explored how to actively manufacture momentum.
Hacking the dopamine.
Exactly. Instead of staring in paralysis at the terrifying peak of the mountain, we lower our gaze to the next immediate step. We focus on messy, imperfect progress, utilizing the brain's reward system by deliberately celebrating tiny wins to fuel our ongoing drive.
Then we learned to build a fortress around that cognitive energy. We acknowledged the biological reality that motivation requires a healthy physical vessel: hydration, sleep, nutrition.
Basics.
And we set firm boundaries against the external drain of unsupportive people and the internal toxic drain of comparing our current step to someone else's highlight reel.
And finally, we unpacked the action paradox, the empowering realization that when the system crashes, you do not have to wait for inspiration. You lead with raw action, trusting that the motivation will be generated in its wake.
For you listening right now, this isn't just an interesting psychological theory. This is a highly practical audit you can apply to your life today.
Right now.
Whatever goal you are currently struggling to achieve, whether you are trying to master a new skill, transform your health, launch a creative project, or just rebuild your daily habits, you can run your struggle through this diagnostic system.
Where's the chain breaking?
Exactly. Have you forgotten the underlying reason why you started? Are your goals too massive, starving you of a dopamine reward?
Are you demanding perfection?
Right. Or are you biologically exhausted because you were neglecting your sleep? Or are you simply sitting on the couch waiting for a magical feeling that will only arrive once you start moving?
Diagnosing the specific break in your momentum is the key to applying the right tool to fix it.
You have the tools to rebuild the engine now. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something to challenge that immediate inertia. We talked about the old school water pump and how standing around waiting for the water to flow is a losing game. So if action truly creates motivation and not the other way around, what is one tiny, wildly imperfect action you can take right now that might instantly generate the spark you've been waiting for?